Stop. Before you say one more word to anyone today, your coworker, your partner, your friend, I need you to understand something that almost nobody in America is talking about. The person sitting across from you right now, they are not telling you the truth. Not because they're a liar, not because they're a bad person, but because they don't even know what the truth is. And once I show you how to see what's actually going on underneath what people say and do, you will never walk into a room the same way again. We're going over 18 psychological truths today, and I'm warning you right now, a few of these are going to hit close to home, not just about the people around you, about you. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have a skill that most people spend their entire lives wishing they had. Let's get into it. Now I want to be upfront with you. This video is broken into 3 parts, and each one builds on the last. Part 1, the mask. Why people hide and what happens when they slip. Part 2, the crack. The moment the truth leaks out and exactly how to spot it. Part 3, the wound. The deep childhood patterns that run every adult's life, including yours. Miss one part and honestly, you'll miss the whole picture. These truths were drawn from one of the most provocative thinkers in all of Western philosophy. Someone who basically said, stop believing what people tell you and start reading what they show you. Truth number 9, especially, I've never seen it explained this way, and it's going to completely flip how you see confident people. All right, part 1. Here's something nobody teaches you in school, in church, at work, nowhere. From the time you're a kid, you're trained to take people at face value. They smile. You trust them. They seem confident. You respect them. They say, I'm fine. You believe them. But here's the brutal truth about human beings. What people show you is almost never who they actually are. It's what kept them safe. Think about it. Growing up, you learned fast. Maybe being too emotional got you punished. Maybe being too quiet got you ignored. Maybe being loud and funny got you the love you needed. So you adapted. You built a version of yourself that worked. That's not fake. That's survival. But the problem is, most people are still wearing that same survival costume at 35 years old, and they don't even know it. Truth has shown, everyone is wearing a mask. The real person lives in the cracks. So if you want to read someone, stop listening to the performance. Start watching for the tension. Where do they get uncomfortable? What topics make them shift in their seat, laugh a little too hard, or suddenly change the subject? That's where the real person starts. Truth #2. What someone hates most in others is what they're hiding in themselves. Okay, this one is going to make some people in the comments mad. You know, the person who constantly calls everyone else fake, who can't stop pointing out how dishonest people are. Yeah. Look closer. We hate in others what we are most afraid to admit in ourselves. It's called projection, and it is one of the most reliable psychological tells on the planet. So the next time someone goes off about how arrogant someone is, or how attention-seeking, or how insecure, don't focus on who they're describing. Focus on what they're confessing. Truth #3, silence. Tells you more than words ever will. In a culture where everyone's talking all the time, podcasts, TikToks, hot takes, we've forgotten how to listen to silence. But silence is where the truth lives. When someone pauses too long before answering, when they give you a one-word response to a deep question, when they dodge a topic with humor every single time, that's not nothing. That is everything. Avoidance is a confession. Truth #4. The loudest moral voice in the room is often the most compromised. Now this one, I need you to really sit with this one. We live in an era of public virtue. Everyone's got something to say about ethics, justice, who's right, who's wrong on social media, at the dinner table, everywhere. But here's what I've learned. The person who performs their goodness the loudest is often the one most afraid of being exposed. Real integrity doesn't need an audience. Real kindness doesn't need a camera. So when someone is constantly correcting, preaching, or performing their morality, ask yourself, what are they trying to drown out? Truth #5. People don't lie to you first. They lie to themselves. This one changed the way I see conflict. When someone says, I'm totally fine, but everything about them says they're not, they're not trying to fool you. They've been saying that to themselves for so long, they actually believe it. I'm over it. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. These aren't lies designed to manipulate you. They're survival scripts. And the inconsistencies where the story doesn't quite add up, where the body contradicts the words, that's where the real person is trying to get out. Truth. #6. Whoever needs to feel superior is losing a battle inside themselves. You've met this person. They have to win every conversation. They casually drop their salary. They correct you in front of other people for no reason. Here's what that actually is. It's fear wearing a costume of superiority. Because real confidence, the kind that's earned, the kind that's settled, it doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need your validation. When someone needs to dominate the room, what you're actually seeing is someone terrified that, without that performance, they might be invisible. Behind the throne, there's almost always a scared kid who just wanted to be enough. Okay, I've got to stop for a second because I want to ask you something. How many of these first 6 truths have you already seen, but never had the words for? Drop it in the comments. I promise you, you're not the only one. Alright, if you've gotten this far, and you're feeling like someone just handed you glasses you didn't know you needed, good. That means you're paying attention. Part 2 is where it gets really interesting, because this is where we talk about the tells, the specific moments when the mask starts to slip, and what to look for when it does. Let's go. You know that feeling when you're talking to someone and something feels off, but you can't explain why. That feeling is information, and you've been ignoring it. Part 2 is about training yourself to stop ignoring it and start reading it. Truth #7. Most behavior is driven by fear, not logic. Why does someone over-explain everything? Why does someone go completely silent when they're upset? Why does someone say yes when every part of their body is screaming no? Fear, not greed, not selfishness, not stupidity. Fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of humiliation, fear of not being enough. Once you stop asking what do they want and start asking what are they afraid of, losing people become almost startlingly readable. Truth #8. Criticism is almost always projection in disguise. The guy who mocks sensitive people, terrified of his own feelings. The woman who always judges people's looks, at war with her own reflection. The coworker who says everyone else is fake. Look in the mirror, buddy. Judgment tells you almost nothing about the person being judged. It tells you everything about the person doing the judging. Truth #9. False confidence is just guilt in a nice suit. This is the one you teased earlier. Pay it off. Okay. I told you truth number 9 was going to flip things for you. Here it is. You know that person who seems too composed, never rattled, always in control, has an answer for everything? Watch them under pressure. Watch what happens when they're actually challenged, not with aggression, but with honesty. 9 times out of 10, the cracks show immediately, because that unshakable confidence, it's a performance. And underneath it, there's usually something they're deeply ashamed of, a choice they made, a version of themselves they're running from. Real peace doesn't perform. Real confidence doesn't need armor. So the next time someone's confidence intimidates you, get curious instead. Ask yourself what they might be hiding so hard they had to build that fortress around it. Truth #0. Exaggeration is always a tell. Quick one, but it's good. I don't care what people think about me. Translation: I care so much it keeps me up at night. I'm literally always happy. Translation: I haven't let myself feel the other stuff in years. I never get stressed. Translation: I am absolutely getting stressed. When someone's statement sounds too absolute, too extreme, too insistent, that's the ego trying to drown out doubt. The louder the claim, the bigger the question mark behind it. Truth #1. A. Need to control. Everything means something feels completely out of control. The micromanager at your office. The partner who needs to know your exact schedule. The parent who can't let anything be spontaneous. This isn't about power. Not really. When someone's inner world is chaotic, when anxiety, shame, or old pain is running unchecked underneath the surface, The outer world must be controlled. It's not a personality flaw. It's a coping mechanism. The stricter the grip someone has on everything around them, the more terrified they are of what happens if they let go. Truth has on too. The louder someone performs their life, the more desperate they are to feel real. Look, we need to talk about something. We live in the age of the performance life, the highlight reel, the curated feed, the living my best life caption over a photo that took 47 takes. And I'm not saying everyone who posts is suffering, but here's what I will say. The person who needs you to see how great their life is needs it badly, because someone who is genuinely, deeply okay with their life doesn't require a standing ovation for it. When the performance is constant, the emptiness underneath is deafening. And hey, before you type an angry comment, I'm not talking about you specifically, but if that hit a nerve, that's worth sitting with. We are in the home stretch. Part 3 is the deepest layer, and honestly, the one that changed things most for me personally. Because we're not talking about surface behavior anymore. We're talking about where it all comes from. Every adult you meet is carrying a child with them. Not literally, but psychologically. And that child made decisions about the world, about safety, about love, about what they had to be to survive. And that child is still running the show. Truth has Hone 3. Nobody argues from logic. They argue from old pain. Here's something that completely changed how I handle conflict. When someone tells you, I don't believe in love, or people always let you down, or you can't trust anyone, they're not making a philosophical argument. They're protecting a wound. People build entire worldviews around what hurt them, and then they use logic to justify it. So next time someone is being completely unreasonable, instead of asking, why are they saying this? Ask, what are they afraid of feeling again? Suddenly, they're not an obstacle. They're a person in pain, trying not to go back there. And you become someone who actually understands. Truth has Hone 4. How someone treats the powerless tells you everything about who they really are. Don't watch how someone treats their boss. Don't watch how they treat someone impressive. Watch how they treat the waitstaff, the intern, the person who made a mistake, the person who can't do anything for them. That's the uncensored version. If someone mocks vulnerability, they're afraid of their own. If someone punishes every mistake, they were probably never allowed to make any. If someone always wins but leaves people feeling small on the way, they're still at war with themselves. Character is what you do when there's nothing to gain. Truth has Hone 5. Attention-seeking is almost always rooted in being ignored. We love to judge the person who always makes everything about themselves, the one who steers every conversation back to them, the one who is just too much. But here's what that usually is. A kid who got ignored. A kid who learned that the only way to matter was to perform, to be bigger, to be louder. And now they're 30 or 40 or 50 years old, still doing the only thing that ever worked. The cry for attention is almost always a very old cry for love. That doesn't mean you have to absorb it, but it does mean you don't have to hate it. Truth has Hone 6. When someone attacks you for no good reason, look for the envy. This one should feel like a revelation. People don't just tear others down out of cruelty. They tear down what they secretly want, but don't believe they can have. The person who mocks your ambition probably abandoned theirs. The one who gossips about how someone is full of themselves probably wishes they had that confidence. The one who criticizes your choices the hardest probably made different ones and hasn't made peace with it. Envy is desire that doesn't believe in itself. And when you understand that, their attacks stop being personal. They're not about you. They're about a version of themselves they gave up on. Truth has Hone 7. Adults don't act from belief. They act from childhood scripts. This should feel like the most personal truth so far. You know the phrase, people don't change. I don't think that's right. I think people repeat. The kid who was never allowed to be emotional becomes the adult who shuts down when you need them to feel something. The kid who had to earn love becomes the adult who works themselves to the bone just to feel worthy. The kid who was ignored becomes the adult who cannot stop talking. They don't know they're doing it. They think they're making choices, but what they're really doing is running a very old program that someone else installed a long time ago. So when you look at someone's patterns, their relationship patterns, their work patterns, their conflict patterns, you're not just seeing who they are, you're seeing who they had to be. Truth has honate. Their patterns are a confession, if you know how to listen. This is the final one, and it's the one that ties everything together. People who are hurting don't always know how to say what hurts, but they will show you, over and over again, in the same patterns, the same reactions, the same behaviors that keep repeating no matter how much time passes. The person who disappears every time things get real. The one who works themselves to exhaustion to avoid being alone with their thoughts. The one who flirts with everyone but can't actually connect with anyone. These aren't random quirks. They are confessions. They're saying, this is how I protect myself. This is where I was broken. This is what I'm terrified of repeating. And when you learn to hear that, when you stop taking behavior personally and start reading it as biography, something shifts. You stop reacting. You start understanding. You don't become a pushover. You don't let people walk on you, but you do become someone who can see the human being behind the behavior. And that is the rarest, most powerful skill you will ever develop. All right, let's land this. We just went through 18 psychological truths, from the masks people wear, to the cracks that show you who they really are, to the childhood wounds that are quietly running every adult you know. But here's what I really need you to hear before you close this tab. These truths aren't just about other people. Every single one of them, the projection, the control, the performance, the patterns, they live in you too, in me too, in all of us. That's not a criticism. That's the whole point. Because the people who are the most dangerous, the ones who get manipulated, who get blindsided, who keep choosing the wrong people, they're not stupid. They're just not reading clearly, including themselves. Now you have 18 frameworks for that. Use them with compassion, not judgment. Use them to understand people before you write them off. Use them to give yourself grace for patterns you didn't even choose. Now here's what I want from you. In the comments right now, tell me, which of these 18 truths hit you the hardest? Was it the one about how we hate in others what we're hiding in ourselves? Was it the one about confidence being guilt in disguise? Or was it truth number 17, the one about how adults are just running their childhood scripts? Drop it below. I read every comment, and I genuinely want to know what landed. And listen, if you made it this far, you're not here for surface-level content. Neither am I. So if you want to go deeper into emotional intelligence, into human psychology, into the things nobody teaches you but everyone needs to know, subscribe and hit the bell, because we are just getting started. I'll see you in the next one.